AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR. Presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You Sue. And Mr. Toby Tom Play. Put some stank on it. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ooh, by the way, it's a hump day.
It's hump day.
Yeah!
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Wheels up to Nashville tomorrow.
Hump day.
Going to watch the Tigers and the Doors.
It's hump day.
Friday's AFR from friends in low places.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
On Broadway.
Hump day.
Not the New York City Broadway.
It's hump day.
The other Broadway.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
The Broadway that feels like a cleaner version of Bourbon Street.
Hump day.
I'm talking about Broadway in Nashville.
It's hump day.
Come join us.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Before you do that, we got a lot to do today.
Hump day.
Dave Kaplan will be here next hour.
It's hump day.
Somebody alert Hunt.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
One Cubs question.
Hump day.
Only one.
It's hump day.
It belongs to Hunt.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Kaplan from ESPN 1000 in Chicago.
Hump day.
Talk about the Bears.
It's hump day.
You know, when you look at a internet heat map of your audience on digital platforms.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
ESPN 1000 has a speck in Baton Rouge.
Hump day.
Little dot right there in downtown Baton Rouge.
It's hump day.
That's Hunt.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Russ Mitchell in hour 3.
Hump day.
Oh, we got a lot to do. Taylor, later this hour.
It's hump day.
Talk some booze.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
We got high school players suing states and whatnot.
Hump day.
My goodness, a ton to do. All right, ton to do. Here we go. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, Saints are back on the practice field today, getting ready for the Bears. We will get to a Saints practice report, a participation report here in just a little bit. Heard early reports out that Alvin Kamara was not at practice today, so we'll get an update on that just as soon as we have it. One of the big storylines surrounding the first half of the LSU season, of course, maybe the biggest, has been Garrett Nussmeier's health. What do we know? What's speculative? How serious is it? Torso, ab, arm, knee, all the stuff. Toe, all the stuff that's been. He's got a toe. All the stuff that he doesn't have a toe. That'd be devastating if he did. And the only thing that Garrett Nussmeier to this point had said about his injury was when he met with reporters after the Ole Miss game, of course LSU lost, and Nussmeier was asked, and point blank was asked about his injury, and this is what he said.
I'm not going to answer any questions about my health right now. Right now, obviously, I'm frustrated about the loss, and just looking to get back, watch the tape, find ways to get better.
It's an 8-second answer. Not talking about his injury. That's the only thing Garrett Nussmeier had said. when asked about his injury, and it was post-game. Ole Miss he had not spoken to the media since then until Tuesday night. And on Tuesday night, Garrett Nussmeier met with reporters and was asked if his early season struggles were related to his injury.
I think it's pretty obvious kind of what has gone on. I don't want to go into it directly. I'll say football, you're never truly fully healthy. It's a sport that you have to play when you're banged up. Obviously it's been frustrating, but as I said, it's football. You got to play through bangs and bruises. I have no excuses. And so I'm just looking forward to continuing to try and get better and finish the year off the right way.
So I think there's this interesting convo. At least Garrett acknowledged there and said, people, you can make the assumption of what was going on there. My thought pretty consistently, though, has been that whatever ab, torso, arm, whatever it was, and maybe after the season he'll go into more elaborative detail. Certainly the NFL will find out. But whatever he's dealing with, we'll find out later. I don't know to what degree that limited LSU, maybe changed a little of what they were trying to do, but my contention has largely been that they needed to show more consistency in running the football. If they did that, it would alleviate a lot of what was going on there in the passing game. Anyway, the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers tell you that through 6 games, Garrett Nussmeier is averaging about 100 yards less passing per game through 6 games than he did a year ago through 6 games. Now, those are very different teams, right? You had one of the best pass blocking offensive lines any of us have ever seen. And they were 60-40 pass to run, and you had a bad defense as well. So you had a team that was trying to push the ball down the field and score and move the ball and be more aggressive. Brian Kelly said point blank against Florida they weren't doing that because they didn't need to. He acknowledged there were 4th downs where the analytics said go for it, but they didn't because they knew they could rely on their defense and special teams and so on. So part of maybe some of the slow start offensively could have been related to Nuss, some of it with the offensive line, some of it because you have a good defense, so you didn't need to be as wide open offensively. But all that to say, Garrett Nussmeier now has said coming through the bye week, he feels better, and he acknowledged that, this past week, number 2, please, that this past week, he kind of felt more like himself on the field with the way he was playing.
Yeah, I think just for one, just everything that I was kind of going through in the first couple of weeks was obviously very frustrating. And, I think I let it get to me a little bit, a feeling of helplessness at times, a lot of frustration. And so, now just having fun playing football, and trying to get back to that, just being me and playing the game that I love to play. And so I think I lost that for a minute there in frustration. And so, Coach challenged me with that to be myself and to bring that swagger back. So, I'm just going to continue to try and keep doing that.
One more from Nuss, and again, we'll take advantage of this opportunity because Garrett doesn't speak to the media much or hasn't this year. Play 9, please, where he was asked, Sidney wants to, in that cut, Sidney wants to start getting back to himself, so sort of elaborate on what that means.
Leading the offense the correct way, being the guy that can orchestrate this offense into what it truly has the potential to be. And so I think that's my goal, nothing else. I've said it many, many times, I didn't care about awards or things like that or focus on all this individual stuff. My goal was to be the best I could for the LSU Tigers and LSU offense. And so that's where my focus is. My focus is with my teammates, my focus with my coaches and getting better and trying to continue this. At the end of the day, you can say whatever you want about us, but we're 5-1 and we got a great opportunity ahead of us. And so that's my goal, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
That point blank is undeniable. They're 5-1, halfway through the season. Every goal is still in front of them. So if his goal is to win, then the best way to go about doing that is sometimes going to be individual to the opponent you face. Against certain opponents, you can say, well, just do the things you do well because you're better and you'll be able to execute what you want. That's true against the Southeastern Louisiana or Louisiana Tech or team like that. There's going to be other games where you're going to have to game plan specific to that opponent. And I think when you look at this opponent in particular, where Vanderbilt is vulnerable is in their pass defense. Vanderbilt allows, on average, 222 pass yards per game. Just for context, Alabama threw for 340. Utah State threw for 274. They had an early season game against Charleston Southern, who barely got past 100 yards, which skewed some of these statistics even more favorable to Vanderbilt, or they'd be worse. They're pretty good in their defensive front. They're veteran, and they're gap sound. It's why their run defense is top 20 nationally. But where they are vulnerable is they lack the athletes on the back end. It's where LSU is clearly very good. We all can objectively look and say, well, there's Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson and Aaron Anderson and Trey'Dez Green and Xavier Thomas and Kyle Parker and Chris Hilton. Like, you have this never-ending barrage and conveyor belt of freak show athletes that could be a problem for the Vanderbilt secondary. And chief among them, of course, is Aaron Anderson, who is still, despite missing last week's game, leading LSU with 305 receiving yards on 23 catches. Your second leading receiver is Berrien Brown. Now, Brown leads you with 27 receptions, but he's got 261 yards. So Aaron Anderson missed last game. He still got 40 more receiving yards than Berrien Brown, despite missing the game this past week against South Carolina. And Brian Kelly on the SEC Coaches Teleconference Monday gave an update on Aaron Anderson that's pretty promising.
He went, the entire day and felt pretty good. His player load was good. We kind of monitor those things for our wide receivers. But the knee that he's had, most of his problems with is one that gets inflamed. And again, he's not 100%. And he's a guy that needs to play fast and free. And he just wasn't in that mindset this past weekend, but he is in practice this week. So we expect him to do a nice job for us.
So if you're scoring at home, Garrett Nussmeier feels like himself again. Sounds like you're going to get Aaron Anderson, your leading receiver, back. You're going against a Vanderbilt secondary that is not very good. So the question is, can you keep Garrett Nussmeier upright and give him time to throw? Just for context, Vanderbilt is tied for 14th in the country with 18 sacks, averaging 3 a game. And by the way, it's not like they had one giant outlier. 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4. So they haven't had fewer than 2 or more than 4 sacks in a game yet this year through 6. So they have been consistent, Vanderbilt has, at getting to the quarterback. On the flip side, LSU is 24th in the country. LSU's only allowed 7 sacks all season in 6 games. A big part of that is you have a veteran quarterback who knows to get rid of the football and not take the sack. So Nuss gets the ball out. Vanderbilt's very good at applying pressure. Can LSU's offensive line, which has been better at pass blocking than at run blocking, I think that's all objectively true, keep Nussmeier upright, give him time to throw against an inferior Vanderbilt secondary? That's the key to this game. That's what Alabama did. They threw for 340. That's how they moved the football up and down the field. It's interesting because we've talked a lot here, and I know I have, about LSU needing to commit to running the football. And I'm still standing by that. You've got to commit to doing it so you avoid a situation like against Ole Miss where they just dropped 8 the whole game. This is one of those situations where I think you probably need to pass to open up the run, because that's where you're going to have a major advantage, provided you can keep Garrett Nussmeier upright. Be an interesting game within the game Saturday in Nashville, but it's a great opportunity for a healthy Garrett Nussmeier, a healthy Aaron Anderson, and a really potentially explosive LSU pass game to get in gear as you start the second half of the season. We'll talk plenty about it as we inch closer to the game in Nashville on Saturday. All right, it's After Further Review. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. If you're going to be in Nashville, whether you're with us at the Friends in Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk, of course, you can drink plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light. If you're going to be at your house watching the game in Baton Rouge or wherever you may be, make sure you have plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints, and the official beer of AFR. Love being partnered with our friends at Mockler Beverage. Great local community partners, been involved in our community for 4 decades. So many times you'll see the way they give back charitably to so many organizations. It's rare that you ever go to any type of fundraiser without seeing the Bud trucks, because they love to give back. It's Bud Light. Drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. New Orleans Saints are off the practice field. When they get off the practice, we'll give you the full participation report. We should have the injury report coming up as well. And another former Saint has landed in Denver. Somehow this one slipped through the cracks. I'll tell you who next. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
Hey, we're brought to you by Duplessis Builders, duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net. And I love telling you about Derek and the great work that they've done. And they're the fastest growing pool company in our state. They're incredible. They were named by Pool & Spa Magazine a top 50 pool builder in America this year. And you look at the work they do and the way they treat their customers, and it becomes very obvious as to why. And they can build you the big, gorgeous, custom resort-style pool at your house. But another phase of their business at Duplessis is they have a pool design where you can build your own pool at their website, starting as low as $49,000. So no matter your budget, there's an option for you at Duplessis. You want the big, beautiful resort-style pool that's custom with everything you want. They can do. Of course, they're amazing engineers. They do beautiful work that lasts. But they have so many different. I think it's 11 different models that you can choose and pick your features for starting at $49,000. Don't wait. Call them today. DuplessisBuilders.net.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Muse, how did this one slip through the cracks?
I think because we all just assumed that it happened immediately.
Didn't.
If I got to be honest.
Nick Underhill on Monday. Muse on actually, this was Monday at 6:16 p.m. So it was after the show on Monday. You missed it on Tuesday, too. But I tell you what, I'm stunned. Did you know that JT Gray was on the Ravens practice squad?
No clue.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know.
Of course, the Saints let him go at the beginning of September. Former special teams All-Pro. Remember the move they made was to kind of rework the roster and get Jake Haener back in the fold or whatever. Is Jake Haener on the roster? I don't know. He's like on again, off again thing. I don't even know where he stands right now. But Underhill on Monday tweeted that the Broncos signed JT Gray from the Ravens practice squad, per source. Wonder who Nick's source was. High-placed sources within the Denver Broncos organization.
Yeah.
Look, my feeling on that whenever they let go of JT Gray was it's ridiculous. He gave you depth at safety. He was a great special teams player, and it's not like having JT Gray on your roster was affecting your salary cap greatly. And then in week 3, you go to Seattle and have the special teams performance you did, where you allow a punt return for a touchdown, a 60-yard kickoff return. You allow a punt to be blocked. It sure would help to have an all-pro special team player on this roster, but take your lumps. That's one of those where you could argue, if you are a conspiracy theorist, and I am not, but if you are arguing that they're tanking, that would be an argument to support. That would be evidence to support your argument, was cutting JT Gray. Well, JT Gray there was on the Ravens practice squad now. Again, to sign a player from another team's practice squad, you have to add them to your active roster, to your 53-man roster. So Sean Payton in Denver has signed JT Gray now to the 53-man active roster in Denver from the practice squad in Baltimore. Just honestly shocked that it took as long as it did. The Saints are going to play the Bears this week, and we're going to talk to Dave Kaplan of ESPN 1000 in Chicago next, about 55 minutes, just a little less than an hour from right now. We'll talk to Dave Kaplan. And I'm excited to dig in a little deeper here on this Bears team, because this is a team that was not very good a year ago. Whenever Jaden Daniels was coming out of LSU, there was this conversation of if it would be Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels going number 1 overall. And the feeling, of course, that if you want your guy to go number 1, and I know my argument at the time was that I actually thought Washington was a better spot. As toxic as Washington was for so many years with Dan Snyder, with new ownership that seems to have changed the culture internally there in Washington, and a defensive-minded head coach in Dan Quinn, you know that they were going to be at least serviceable defensively, which means you weren't going to have so much pressure on a young quarterback to win immediately or to do it all. And then for as much as everyone cracks on Cliff Kingsbury, he was not a good college head coach, and it's very hard to be a good college head coach, especially at Texas Tech at the time, pre-NIL, where you were just never going to have the type of athletes to compete 1 to 85. That's changed now with NIL. But Kingsbury was always a good play caller, and he was a good head coach in Arizona with the Cardinals until Kyler Murray tore his ACL. So, and then everything sort of unraveled from there. So you have a good creative play caller, a defensive-minded head coach, good culture ownership, and on the flip side, you look at the Bears, who are just face planting, and were very likely going to fire Matt Eberflus. So whoever was drafted was likely going to have a coach for year 1 and then a new coach in year 2, and that's exactly what's happened in Chicago. And Caleb Williams took a bunch of lumps in year one. Well, now in year two, after starting 0-2, they've won 3 in a row. The Bears are 3-2. And Dan Graziano, of course, is an NFL reporter for ESPN, was on Get Up today and kind of talked about how internally there Ben Johnson is changing things in Chicago.
You go back to the offseason and training camp when Ben Johnson was installing his program in Chicago. We heard this many times from a lot of different people. He was hard on them. He was hard on Caleb Williams. He was hard on the team during practices. And I think one of the things that came out of that was an understanding that, hey, we're all going through something tough together. And now you have guys that are playing with a level of confidence. Caleb Williams, last year he's running around making hero plays. Last night he's, 3rd and 5, I'm going to get 7. I think what's really interesting about this is Caleb Williams having the confidence to operate within the offense, an offense being built to maximize his strength and give him that confidence. And I think that's what you're seeing playing out. Not that there won't continue to be ups and downs, but I think you're seeing the fruits of Ben Johnson's offseason.
What a stark contrast. I don't, listen, I'm not here to throw darts at the way Kellen Moore handled his offseason. I'm just pointing out the stark contrast where, to a man, everyone said the Saints training camp this year was the lightest, easiest training camp that they'd ever seen. Of course, the veterans loved it. What a 180 from Sean Payton's first training camp back in 2006, that when we have guys like Scott Shanley or Joe Horn or guys from that 2006 team, Lance Moore, who went through that training camp, talked about how it was the hardest training camp of their lives, so the hardest thing they ever went through. Well, Sean Payton was instilling a culture. And it's clear that's sort of the mold that Ben Johnson followed in Chicago this offseason. That is not what Kellen Moore did. I mean, we've kind of laughed because Kellen Moore starts practice later because he wants to sleep in. He doesn't want to get up early. Okay. Look, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to tell you what to do, what time to get up, what time to have practice, and all that sort of stuff. But the results have to be there. And the results ultimately will be a reflection of your process. They were very healthy, by and large, coming out of camp. Now, they've been bitten by the injury bug as the season has started. I don't know if that's a direct correlation to how they handled camp. That's all stuff that they'll have to evaluate throughout this offseason and what they do moving forward. But you do have a very clear illustration of two teams here with the Saints and the Bears that were bad a year ago, that have young quarterbacks that were rookies a year ago. And I understand Caleb Williams is the number 1 overall pick and Rattler was a 5th rounder. But you have teams that were not very good a year ago, rookie head coaches, took 2 very different approaches to their first training camp. And so far, through 6 weeks, 2 very different results. The Bears are 3-2. The Saints are 1-5. And now they're going to play in Chicago this week, and the Bears are 5.5-point favorites and likely going to beat the New Orleans Saints Sunday in Chicago. Caleb Williams, his development is also something to watch, and he will forever obviously be tied to, measured, compared to Jaden Daniels as the first and second picks of their draft. The same way that happens anytime there's a 1-2, like Andrew Luck and RG3 were 1-2 in their draft. And so they're always going to be those comps, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. I mean, just go through the years of all those. So we will have those convos for as long as these guys play with Caleb Williams and with Jaden Daniels. That comp doesn't really matter for this week, of course, with the Saints playing the Bears. But Chase Daniel, who is a former Saints quarterback, was a longtime NFL quarterback and a backup and does a lot of media now, was on the Rich Eisen show on ESPN Radio and kind of talked. If you've never seen any of Chase Daniel's breakdowns, he does a really good job of Xing and O'ing on his his film studies. Well, Chase Daniel was on the Rich Eisen show and talked about some of what you're seeing, some of the changes you're starting to see from Caleb Williams here now 5 games into year 2.
When you watched Caleb Williams last year, it was like, all right, you have areas of the game where you're throwing it 40 times in a row. It's just like, because they were so bad. This is what type of coaching Caleb Williams needs. And you're starting to see him sort of come out of his shell and really just calm down. And he's not playing in a hurry. He's playing really patient. He's showing a good accuracy on short and intermediate areas. I mean, look, St. Brown, like number 14, when they were backed up, that could have been a 90-yard touchdown. The ball was dropped. And then you take into the elements into effect too. I thought he played really, really well.
We're going to get to see Caleb Williams on Sunday in Chicago with the Saints going in to take on the Bears. The other dynamic of this game, of course, is it's the Saints against their former head coach, Dennis Allen, who I would venture a guess has a lot of motivation in this game and probably a bit of an upper hand because of his deep knowledge of all the players on this Saints roster. So I'm actually looking right now. It looks like that line has dropped to 4.5. It was open to 5.5. Looks like it's 4.5 right now. So a little Saints money coming in, but the Saints are still underdogs in Chicago on Sunday. And we will talk in about 45 minutes with Dave Kaplan from ESPN 1000. We'll sort of dive into this matchup a little deeper. Love telling you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. That's Arco Power Systems. We talk about generators a lot in Louisiana, especially all along the Gulf Coast, where we're sort of in this, this storm belt right here in the Gulf Coast. Well, of course, a lot of people have home standby generators. When we talk about Arco Power Systems, these are not home standby generators. This is industrial generator power. This is for your business. I mean, just think about it. When the power goes out, be it a hurricane, an ice storm, snow like we had last year, power goes out. What do you do with your business? Like, what happens to your business? Well, being offline is not an option. That's why you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Just look at all the locations. Baton Rouge, Bossier, Harvey, Lake Charles, Mandeville, Mobile, LaPorte, Texas, San Antonio. They're also up Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They're everywhere. Austin, they're everywhere. So if you're a business and you need standby power for your business, a permanent solution with an installed standby generator, rentals in the event of a storm or a big event, an outdoor event where you need generator power, or you need your generator serviced, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO. Arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. We are going to get to Taylor Calandro in 15 minutes, little Bourbon Dictionary. Get your booze questions in. Always appreciate having Taylor on the show. We'll go around the SEC when we come back, and a high school athlete is suing his state over high school NIL. What do we make of this? Could we see a change coming? Why is it impactful? We'll do that as we continue. Glad you're aboard with us here on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Lots of different ways you can get Gordon. GetGordon.com is a website. GetGordon.com. Go to the website. There's a little chat bubble bottom right. You can click that. You can be chatting with an associate immediately. You can always call 888-8888, 888-8888. That's 888-8888. Or you can go to getgordon.com. Again, getgordon.com. You see, Gordon and his team of attorneys all over the state of Louisiana. They have offices all over the state. So no matter where you're listening, watching, wherever you live, work, play, there are local attorneys there to help you. For example, attorney Todd Hernandez, part of Gordon's staff, helped a client recover $451,000 part of an auto accident. You want to see that testimonial and others, you can go to getgordon.com and hit the testimonials tab. Getgordon.com, getgordon.com. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
There's a high school athlete in Ohio that is suing the state of Ohio over NIL. The state of Ohio presently does not allow for high school NIL. And so Jameer Brown, who's one of the top receivers in the country for 2027, so he's a high school junior right now, his mother has filed a lawsuit in state court in Ohio that is trying to trigger a move by the State Athletic Association to change its rule to allow for high school players to make NIL, to profit off of NIL. Now, keep in mind also, this is, when we talk about, the reason this is relevant, very relevant, I'll use a comp with Louisiana and Mississippi because we had this conversation a few weeks back about Tristan Keys. Remember, Tristan Keys, the number 1 receiver in the country, who is from Hattiesburg, had been committed to LSU. He flipped to Tennessee. Well, Louisiana allows high school NIL. What that means is what NIL was like last year before the House settlement, pay for play, guised as NIL. You can still do that in high school in Louisiana. Like the LSU collective can go pay high school athletes the same way they were paying college players a year ago. Now, you can't do that in college anymore. Like every NIL deal has to be true third-party NIL that goes to the clearinghouse. But in high school, you can do whatever you want. So you want to pay a student athlete $100 grand. The deliverable is like, an autographed shoe, whatever. You could do that still. So, look at the top of LSU's class with guys like Lamar Brown. Lamar Brown is getting high school NIL paid to him through LSU's collective that is paid out and tiered, and it'll elevate and escalate the closer you get to signing day. Then when he signs, boom, I'm sure he'll get the biggest lump sum of that. And then once he enrolls at LSU after he signs, then he'll be on the revenue share component and then third-party NIL. So someone like Jameer Brown, for example, lives in Ohio. He is not able to profit yet off of his name, image, and likeness. Tristan Keys, this was relevant because the state of Mississippi does not allow high school NIL. So he cannot yet profit off his name, image, and likeness. So you might have seen like the Adidas deal that Tristan Keys did with at Tennessee. Of course, Tennessee is an Adidas school. Well, Adidas announced an NIL deal with Tristan Keys. So that is true third-party NIL that I'm sure Tennessee went to their apparel provider and said, hey, look, we have a deal with you where you give us X amount of money in cash and then X amount of our deal is in apparel and so on. Instead of giving us the cash, do a true third-party NIL deal with this 5-star receiver so he's committed, but we know whenever he knows when he gets here, this is money he's going to get when he arrives, right? Adidas did a similar thing. There's like 9 Texas A&M athletes they did a deal with. So the point is that this remains a competitive advantage states like Louisiana have where you can do high school NIL. You don't have to like it. I don't really care if you like it or I like it or whatever. Everyone wants to win, and you have to be competitive in these spaces, and this is one way you can. And of course, Ohio State, the state of Ohio is a talent-rich state, and it's a place where a lot of kids, of course, want to stay home and go play at Ohio State, and this is one of those things where and by the way, Brown is committed to Ohio State, but he's not yet able to make money as a high school athlete and capitalize on his earning potential. So it will be interesting to see where this goes. We'll follow it. But in the meantime, it is a competitive advantage that states like Louisiana have because they allow high school NIL and need to continue to take advantage of before things like that get changed in places like Ohio and notably Mississippi. All right, it's After Further Review. We are brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake. Speaking of true third-party NIL, our friends at Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics, not only providing great care for the LSU student-athletes, but also NIL deals. So you see Garrett Nussmeier on the Our Lady of the Lake commercials and billboards. That's a true third-party NIL deal that Our Lady of the Lake has done with LSU student-athletes. I can tell you, tomorrow we're heading up to Nashville, be doing my show Friday from Friends in Low Places, presented by Our Lady of the Lake. Well, there's a couple of LSU gymnasts, Kaylin Chio and Lexi Zeiss, who are going to be making that trip as well as NIL athletes with Our Lady of the Lake. They'll be our guest pickers on AFR on Friday. So it's all interwoven how Our Lady of the Lake not only supports championship health care for LSU athletes, LSU students, and everyday champions like you and me, but they support the Tigers winning on the field, on the court, in the gym as well. It's Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. All right, Taylor's coming up here shortly. Get your booze questions in the meantime. We do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Florida Gators.
A report from USA Today suggests that Billy Napier could be fired as soon as this weekend. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland met with a handful of influential boosters on Tuesday and was told continuing financial support depends on a new direction within the football program. So, Florida plays Mississippi State this weekend. Even with a potential win, sounds like Billy Napier could very well be fired after this weekend.
Texas A&M!
Le'Veon Moss did not suffer a season-ending injury Saturday. Pete Nakos with this report. Earlier this week, Mike Elko did disclose that Le'Veon Moss is going to miss a significant amount of time due to this injury, but Nakos is reporting the ankle injury is not thought to be season-ending. The injury occurred this past Saturday in the Aggies' win against the Gators.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Speaking of injured running backs, Jam Miller is questionable for this weekend's game against Tennessee. He suffered a concussion last week in the win against Missouri. He was hurt late in that 27-24 win, entered the concussion protocol. He's played only 3 games this season. Miller broke his collarbone during fall camp and missed the first 3 games before returning for the Georgia game.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Brent Venables said Jaden Gibson is no longer with the Oklahoma program. He was injured during the offseason, was expected to be back for the opener against Illinois State. Well, now ties have been cut. Gibson spent 3 seasons there in Norman, playing in 2, missed all of 2024 with a knee injury. He's not been available through the first 6 games, and Oklahoma continues to struggle to find the field consistently with some of these healthy bodies.
The Texas Longhorns.
And Steve Sarkisian has explained why running back Jarrett Gibson and kicker Will Stone left the team at midseason. They want a redshirt and transfer. Sarkisian confirmed on the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday. New rule allows a student athlete 5 years of eligibility in the NCAA is considering the new rule that would allow 5 years of eligibility in a 5-year span, the 5-and-5 model. Gibson has kind of been this short yardage back this season. Stone had kicked off 20 times this year, but both are leaving and expected to enter the transfer portal. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Our Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Yourgoodwood.com. Hormone replacement therapy is something I always suggest. Go get that blood test. Let them draw your blood, run your labs, and let you know if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. It can completely transform the way you feel. Yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Lowest prices, never any contracts. Let me say that again. Lowest prices, never any contracts. So what do you have to lose? Yourgoodwood.com. All right, Taylor Calandro for Bourbon Dictionary next. Get your booze questions in. It's AFR.
AFR.
Woke up this morning. Temps were in the mid-50s. Thinking about cranking up that AC, aren't you? Also saw there on the little weather report that the cold front is coming soon. Getting close to cranking on that AC, aren't you? Or cranking on that heater, aren't you? Before you do, I'm warning you, before you do, call River City's 1 Hour Air for the preseason heater safety check. Mention the show, and they'll save $30 off that safety check. Just mention AFR. Listen, your heater, it's dormant for months. It can collect dust. That can be hazardous. Before you crank on your heater for the coming cold weather, make sure it's running efficiently, it's tuned up, it's clean, it's safe to run. 752-0001. Do not chance it. Call River City's 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. They're the gang with the slang.
Keep it 100. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is Bourbon Dictionary with Matt Moscona and Taylor Calandro.
I don't understand.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1. You know the drill. Get your booze questions in. Segment started out of COVID when nobody wasn't doing nothing but sitting around and drinking all day. We said, let's just talk about booze. And so Taylor came on, started answering your booze questions, and we've been doing this for like 5 years now. So keep it rolling. Email us, tweet us, text us, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Get your questions in. Yo, dude, how are you?
Good. I still sit around and drink all day.
Admittedly, bro, it was different during COVID. Like,
God, it was wild, man. Yeah, it was. It's wild. It was 5 years ago.
I know. I discovered my greatest discovery out of COVID, from a whiskey standpoint, was 1792 bottled in bond. It's the yellow label, 1792. Yeah. And very affordable, delicious. I probably, every night of COVID, had a rocks pour of 1792 bottled in bond and watched $1 Million Listing. That was like every night. For as long as we weren't allowed to do nothing, that's what I did every night.
That's a great show, too.
I love it. I've seen every episode, even all the offshoots. There are the spinoffs. I've seen every single episode of every season of everything. Yeah, those are different series altogether. But I mean, like, $1 Million Listing has had New York and San Francisco. I think they did Miami, and then they had like Selling with Sirhan, and then Frederick Eklund did a thing with Bethany Frankel. And I mean, trust me, dude. For Sirhan's wedding, I saw them all. I saw them all, bro.
It's the only thing on my television when there's not sports on. So,
$1 million listing, really?
Oh, my wife, she loves that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
All of it.
That's awesome. We get along great. We get along great watching all that. All right, let's get we'll get some questions in. By the way, we're starting to feel a little nip in the air. It feels like it's hunting season out there. I'm not talking about deer. I'm talking about brown water. We seeing some drops?
Yeah, actually, we got Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Rye, which this is the first batch they've done. And I think you would really like it, not only because it's a rye. It's barrel proof, but it's only 108 proof.
Okay.
So it's not like super over the top. I tried some. It was a couple weeks ago. It is fantastic.
I mean,
it's 85. I mean, it's $85. If you see it, get it. It's.
Do you have any more?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's sitting on the shelf right now.
Oh my God!
Yeah, really, really, really good. Like they nailed it on the first try. I think they did a distillery only release, but it was a much higher proof, and I don't know if that was in the last year or two. But I didn't get to try that. This is the first time I've gotten to try the barrel proof rye. Absolutely outstanding. Their Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Bourbon is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
This is really, really good. And it, like I said, it's $85. It's 108 proof. I don't think $85 is out of control, and I'm not afraid to say when it is. I've done it on this show a million times. Me and you do it all the time.
Yeah.
So, for $85, grab it if you see it.
I'll spend $85 on a bottle that's worth it. I just think there's a lot of crap that's not worth it that people are trying to sell you a story and will price something at north of $75, north of $100, and they think you're getting something great because you're spending $100 on a bottle, which ain't always the case.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to sell you on just delicious liquid in a bottle that looks like a normal bottle.
Any good beers right now?
We started getting a bunch of Christmas stuff. If you're into Christmas beer, I personally like Christmas beer. St. Bernardus has a really good one. Also, I forgot about this. We're getting some Urban South Paradise Park Wild Berry. I think it's coming at the end of the week, which Paradise Park is their lager, and they do different variants, different fruits of it. But it's a good little light lager to drink. And that's a Mockler beer, too.
There we go.
Yeah.
Go get you some. The little flamingos on the can on Paradise Park.
Yes.
Let's see. We'll get to questions here. Email us, tweet us, or text 225-396-4400, 396-4400. Lance said, hey, Taylor, where can I find Elmer T. Lee?
Well, you can find it on the internet or raffles around town. Or you can, I don't even know if you could get lucky and find Elmer T. Lee on a shelf at regular retail. You probably could. But raffles now, that's about the only way, or spending a fortune.
I don't think you'd have to spend a fortune.
I mean, I say a fortune. As far as retail, way more than retail. A couple. I don't even know what Elmer T. Lee is secondary now. Probably a couple $100. It's not crazy, but it's still. I mean, I think retail. I don't even know what the retail of these bottles are anymore. $60
for Elmer T. Lee. Yeah, probably around there. $60, $65, something like that.
I just don't ever handle them on a day-to-day basis on the show. I don't know what the prices of these things are because it's not part of my day-to-day deal. And the prices you see generally are just out of control. So anyway,
I don't know if I need to ask this one because I feel like this is probably someone trying to get me to say something that isn't really a thing.
Okay. Do you want to?
It's a 10-year whiskey out of Wyoming. Uh-huh. He's asking if it's been released yet. But the way he spelled it makes me think that this isn't a real thing. And he's just trying to get me to say something, like the old bit where it's like Oliver Closeoff or Mike Roch or something like. You know what I mean?
What's the How a Baby Eats a Boy?
Yeah. Bob. Yeah, except that's different.
Bob,
right? I mean,
Had a Baby Eats a Boy?
That was Bob. Had a baby. It's a boy. Collect call from Bob. Last name, we Pizza Boy. Yeah, it's like, man, just accept the charge. You know what I mean? It's a collective.
Well, you're gonna have to tell me after because I want to.
Let's say Butte, B-U-T-T-E, Butte or Beauty, and then Whole.
Butte. I mean, that could be Butte's a funny word. I used to live in a town in Arizona that had a crested butte. It was a little rock formation. I mean, little mountain formation. It was a crested butte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what that guy's talking. Guy or gal is talking about.
His name's Lance. I think he was just trying to get me to say butthole. Quite honestly, I think that's what he was trying to get me to say.
Lance.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to get me to say. So there you go, Lance. All right, I have 15 seconds. So we got it. We'll talk next week and hopefully get a better question.
Man.
Yeah, we'll see. That's Taylor. Bye. It's AFR. Bye. Okay. Yeah. Hour 2 is coming up after Sports Center.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. I got a text on the show text line earlier today from Dustin. He said, Matt, this Parish Restoration, parenthetically, the mold thing. Let's see if I didn't know what Parish Restoration was. Spray vehicle interiors. He says, I have a company vehicle that has some water damage inside, smells very moldy. Any info is appreciated. So, Dustin, yes, as a matter of fact, they do. They will come to you and they'll spray in your vehicle. So it doesn't matter if it's your vehicle, if it's your home, if it's a giant commercial building. Process is super easy, and it's just the same. So it'll kill the mold. If you have mildew, if you have water damage inside or water penetration inside of your car and you're getting that musty, or maybe you bought a vehicle that maybe pets were in it, or it was a previous owner was a smoker and you can't get that smell out, Parish will come spray their patented non-toxic dry fog and knock out that odor. ParishRestoration.com.